Dealer Cruz, your life applications officer. Real quickly, I didn't even really plan what I was going to talk about, and I just everything that I wanted to talk about, I was thinking at work and I didn't write it down. You know how I am. I forget stuff like kids pooping in Pampers. I just forget stuff. You know, it just leaves my head. You know. But I had so much to say. It'll all come to me. If it don't come to me, I'll just make this really short. But while my man Brandon Tatum, while he is watching the election and he's ready to celebrate, he's got the barbecue on and wine out, and he's getting ready to celebrate right in front of us because he thinks that the Republicans are going to win the majority of the votes this election for governor and senate and mayor and blah 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 and all that good stuff. He thinks that the Republicans are going to win most of it. Mr. Oz is here in Pittsburgh. Well, he's not here in Pittsburgh. He's here in Pennsylvania. And I hope he wins. I don't know much about Mr. Oz except his TV show. I know that watching Oz on his show, he's a really good alternative to Dr. Phil. And that's basically what he's copying off of Dr. Phil. But his show was sticking to the facts and sticking to, you know, what could be done about your health, instead of putting people on your show that you know you disagree with, and you're going to sit there and give them an audience and give them a voice when you know you disagree with them, but you're going to play your part, you know, when you know you disagree with them, you know. I vote straight Republican on everything. Now, I just talked to someone at work on my way out the door that doesn't do that. But I vote straight Republican because this is the issue, and I know that more Republicans than don't really care about the moral issues. They just care about the issues of, you know, they may care about jobs, but Democrats care about jobs too, you know. They may care about Social Security, health care. They might care about crime and all like that. I think Republicans care more, but Democrats care about this stuff too. My reason for being a Republican is the moral issues. I really don't care about free stuff. I really don't care about, and the other thing is the whole victimization politics. Like, everybody's a victim in the Democratic Party. Everybody needs something other than, you know, a house to live in, you know, money, a good job, a car, you know. I mean, everybody needs more than the necessities. They need, and then, you know, on a moral level, this is my problem. Everybody wants to come over here and, you know, invade everybody's space. And I don't see Republicans doing that. Republicans don't want to evade everybody's space. Republicans aren't even talking like about, you know, and, you know, you want to accuse Donald Trump of like January 6th, but Republicans don't talk that crap. Democrats do. Republicans don't talk about hurting anybody and getting out there and fighting and kicking people out of their restaurants because they're Democrats and doing whatever. Like Maxine Waters, you do whatever you do. You do whatever you got to do to keep them away from your store, your church. You know, they just, you know. It's crazy. And, you know, when we get right down to it, this is what's dumb about black Democrats. Especially, well, it ain't just black Democrats. I take that back. I'm so angry with black people since I moved to Pittsburgh. I just blame them for everything. Sorry, black people. That's the problem with Democrats in general. Problem with Democrats is that the moral issues, like, okay, there's Democrats that are Christians, so-called Christians, okay? They don't believe that the moral issues matter. Because, a Republican, you know, a Republican could be gay. Okay, true. But he's not supposed to be. Republican is supposed to be against all that stuff. He's supposed to be against this. And I know y'all ain't, these Republicans, you know, Brandon Tatum ain't even talking about it. They're not going to do anything about, you know, they're not going to do anything about anything that's not going to cause violence and cause people to be put in prison and cause people to get, you know, injured, shot, killed. You know what I mean? When chaos happens, and it happens in the form of violence and murder and rape and riots and gangs and people's homes being broken into and people are crying and you know, attacking big, you know, political figures because of what's going on in their own neighborhood and all like that, then they might say, you know, hey, we need to give women's sports back to women. We need to give the children back to their parents and let the parents teach their own children about the birds and the bees and not leave it up to some queer dude wearing a dress, okay, who looks like he got one thing on his mind and it ain't teaching kids math, okay? They're not concerned about this, okay? But I am. Okay? I mean, Donald Trump might not be the smartest man to, you know, I do think he's the smartest man when it comes to breaking a dollar and splitting that dollar between 20 people. You know what I'm saying? I do believe that Donald Trump is really smart at math. And I do believe that he's smart at, you know, giving you and I what he has given himself all the way up until he became president, okay? And I'll be honest with you. I mean, I didn't really start getting into politics until Bill Clinton. And I watched Bill Clinton embarrass America and, you know, and then that's when they let me know what the Republican Party was all about. I mean, I, like most of you watching and most black folks, thought that the Democratic Party was the party of the people. What people? Oh, you mean I'm in the party that goes against everything? I'm in church, man, and I'm talking about politics with church people. And you mean to tell me we're voting for the party that goes against everything we believe in? I mean, Bush talked about God, and he talked about, you know, church and Christian issues and stuff, and so did Trump. But all the Democratic presidents, it didn't hit me till over the last few years. They'll say, oh yeah, well I pray every day, you know, for the children that are, you know, on the other side of the border, you know, that we can help them, you know. But as far as a moral issue, nobody's praying. None of these Democrats are praying. Nobody's stopping violence. Every time a Democrat is in office, it's like black people just hate white people all the more. When a Republican's in office, black people hate white people, but they're not able to just go rampant crazy on them like they've been doing since Biden been in office. You know what I mean? Everything was getting crazy, and the stuff, yeah, that's one of the things I wanted to say. that I didn't write down. Thank you, Lord. Black folks, what makes you think that you have a right in this country, hold on, out of all morality and decency and love for your own race and your own protection, what makes you think that it's cute, that it's satisfactory, that it's awesome, that it's helping anything, to get on national TV and just say whatever the hell you want to say about white people in the most gruesome and violent way? You can't call me the N-word enough in 100 sundown cities across the globe for me to be able to apologize enough for what my people are doing to America. It has nothing to do with the color of your skin. The darkest person I've ever seen other than an African is a white person who was sitting out in the sun too long. And she said, I'm going to take a vacation next week. I'm going to be even darker. And I teased her and I says, are you trying to be black? She said, I don't see nothing wrong with that. Okay. I'm trying to see why black people don't look at something like that and stop and think about it. Like, you know. But that's the truth. The darkest person I've ever seen was a white man and a white woman. Straight up. Unless you like totally, you know, Ethiopian Africa, you know, way in the jungle. I mean, you know, like you greasy black. You know, I've seen the darkest person I ever seen, skin color wise, was white. And you know what? 100,000 white people. It's not the color of your skin, sir, ma'am. It's your attitude. When white people see us and they shake their head and they look at you like, what you doing here? It ain't because of the color of your skin. Because if you walked in there pitch black and they knew you was white, they'd be like, all the women start whispering and talking, man, he's sexy. I'd like to jump on him. Ooh, he's sexy. You ought to hear these white women talk. You ought to hear these white women talk about black men. Even the ones that don't date black men. They have very, 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 very sexual, very commonly. I saw a woman write a book about how handsome and beautiful the black race is, especially the black men, because she's a woman, a biological woman. She's married to a white man. He didn't take no offense. You know. But in her eyes, the black people are the most beautiful people you ever want to meet. You know what I'm saying? Most beautiful people you want to meet. But their attitude is the most ugliest of the ugliest you ever want to meet. Okay? And I've learned that growing up, you know, coming up in the hood. I got to change this battery. Hold on a second. These brand new hearing aids, I don't know, man. They take up a lot of battery time. Mainly because the Bluetooth is not separate from the hearing aids. It's built inside the hearing aids. She warned me that. That's going to take up more battery time. So, you know, like, sometimes I have to remind myself to take my phone off of Bluetooth because I don't know what's on there. You know? Don't know what's on there. So, okay, one here, and then, okay. Yes, indeedy. But, it's not the color of anybody's skin that someone isn't like, because really, let's flip the biasness and the stereotypes a little bit. Don't get me wrong, there's white people who just feel like white people are the cream of the crop, you know, in everything from their skin color all the way to, you know, all the way to culture, and every little tiny thing they do in their culture is just glorified. But most white people don't look at themselves based on the color of their skin. They look at themselves based on their culture and the peace of their neighborhoods and stuff like that. You want to see white people, you know, they talked about Capone, if that's how you pronounce his name, Capone or whatever. If you bring white people up like black people, they'll act like black people. Now, I'm not talking about literally act like black people, but they'll act like people of the hood. They'll act like, you know, I meet people like that every day. This is Pittsburgh. I meet people every day that are white who, they're violent, they're potty mouth, they're uneducated in a lot of things, and not just school, but I mean morally, spiritually uneducated. I mean, they just have no clue, and that's a good concept right there, no clue. But they have no clue of, you know, what, you know, human attitude should be like. Okay? And you say, well, Mr. Cruz, what makes you think you know what human attitude should be like? Well, without bringing my Bible over here, I do believe that the human condition that should be is already set. We all know when we're going against it. Okay? But this Democratic Party, let me say this before I go on to mess with the transgender people for a little bit. This Democratic Party is not the issue, and I know people that don't vote Republican or Democrat because they believe that both parties are lying to us, both parties are out for our money, and both parties are trying to rob and steal from us and make us poor and blah blah blah. You know, I believe it depends on what Republican, but when it comes to Democrats, I believe the Democrats are under an agenda, whether they realize it or not. And this is what I hate about the Democratic Party right now as I'm sitting here more than ever before. There is an agenda. Watch my time, because I gotta take my pill. There is an agenda. And they have chosen the Democratic Party to carry out their agenda. Okay? The Democratic Party, I read this online just a week or two ago. The Democratic Party has always won as the party of the people because of the freedoms it gives to, I forget how it put it, but, you know, on the lines of liberals, on the lines of people that are, you know, basically pagan. The Democratic Party, see, you know, we can all sit down. I'm willing to sit down with anybody and talk about taxes and talk about free stuff and talk about, you know, health care. Oh, God. talk about, owning a home and putting your kids through college and blah 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 blah. I'm down with fixing that, even if it meant I went over the head of a Republican. But this is the thing. I don't tolerate. I'd rather be overtaxed, underpaid, okay, and shooting criminals off my door 3 times a day than to support your immoral behavior. Because, like I said, we can talk about all this stuff that everybody, from the child, the baby in a little crib, all the way to grandmama and grandpa is about to die in a couple days. Okay, everybody needs this stuff. Everybody needs good health care. Everybody needs, Social Security. Everybody needs retirement. Everybody needs to be able to own a good home and all that stuff. That's fine. But these moral issues. And there's a lot of Republicans, and I agree with my friend at work, there's a lot of Republicans that really don't care about the moral issues. They're only in the Republican Party because they feel that they can win that better than they can win Democrat, if they open up their mouth and start campaigning. But they really don't care about, transgenders ain't raising their kids. Okay? They don't walk out of their house and see 2 people of the same sex kissing every day. I don't either, but I do the minute I get on that daggone bus. Okay? I do the minute I get to work. I do the minute I go to the hospital or something. Man. You say, and now I can get off of black people and get on the rest of y'all. You say that, well, D-Roy, why do you care so much about transgender people and what they do with their bodies and all like that? It would be the image, my friend. The image that they portray. And now they went as far as to come after our women, our biological women. Not only in sports, but social media. Transgender women, which are actually biological men that, are pretty. Okay? And they love to, and this is the thing, they love to get on there and expose the fact that they're trans. Because they know that the power is not in being a woman, but the power is going against the typical woman. So they love to get on the internet and expose themselves as being trans, but then they want to contradict themselves and they want to complain about them being real women. I almost said the B word. Woman or thing, whatever. Did you not just say out of your own mouth, I'm a trans woman? Why are you getting mad when people call you a trans woman? You said it first. And there's this woman, how I love Asian women, okay? Just to see Asian women, smelling roses just does something to me. Just to see Asian women drinking a glass of water or fixing her ponytail or using her computer or anything, it's just very extremely provocative to me. Like, that is too naked. It's just too sexual to me. Like, you remember I did that video about, I did that live video about it's raining Asian women in Pittsburgh, and it was really raining Asian women, in Pittsburgh, and they were all at my place of business. And I'm so glad. I think that was the same day the Haitian dude showed up that I almost got in a fight with. I forget. But that was something, and people are still teasing me about it. They know. You know, when Asian women come around, Asian woman needs an escort or anything. D-Roy, I think this one's for you. And they know, like, I don't have a problem with people that have trouble speaking English. I don't have a problem with, you know, as long as we can find a way to understand each other, you know. But, seriously, though. Seriously. I lost my train of thought. You say the word Asian, I just lose my train of thought. But anyway, oh yeah, I know what I was gonna say. You know how crazy I am about Asian women. Okay, I just think Asian women are adorable. I ain't never met even the ugliest Asian woman that I ever seen was adorable. Just something about you know, her father's, you know, it's just something about her being the sister of the prettier one. She just makes her beautiful, you know. I ain't never seen an ugly Asian woman except one. My doctor. I got a doctor that looked like a female sumo wrestler. You know what I saw on Netflix just the other day? They got a new movie out on Netflix. It's been on there a while. I just noticed it yesterday though. About a woman who decided to get oh my god, how dumb. A woman who decided to be a sumo wrestler. So just like you got women in MMA, you got women doing sumo wrestling now. Okay? But nevertheless, that might be the only kind of Asian woman that I'm not into, is somebody who would be dumb enough to do sumo wrestling. She can't show enough skin, enough meat, or anything else to make me go, I just click, turn that mess off. But anyway, this transgender dude fooled me. Very beautiful Asian trans woman. Very, very beautiful. I'm going to be like David Lynn and be honest. He's very beautiful. I mean, even with no makeup on and stuff like that, he's very beautiful for a guy. Okay? Very beautiful for a guy. And I mean, he's really good at acting feminine, like most trans people I meet, especially the black trans people. They just go too far trying to imitate women. This guy, he does it naturally. If you didn't know he was trans, you wouldn't know he was trans. Okay? And the video he did about women's sports, and I don't know if I guess they asked his opinion on women's sports, and he was like, a win is a win, and he disguised his voice when he said it. I hope he disguised his voice. I hope that's not his real voice, and then he's real good at sounding like a lady when he does the rest of his videos. But I mean, that voice was deep. Win is a win. And he looked, and she was able to act just like a dude too, like it was nothing, like, win is a win. Win is a win. I'm like, I immediately, because of his voice, wanted to say, hold up. Is he really going to talk like that? And I found out he was either pretending to disguise a more manly voice, or he was pretending But on the rest of his videos, he was probably pretending, because even though, even looking at him and seeing the man in him, he don't seem like we'd have a voice that deep. But the stuff that he says, this is my point, he spends every video talking about, I'm a trans woman, and trans people. If he says the word trans people one more time, I'm going to call him on the phone and say, how many times are you going to say trans people and say you don't like being called trans out of the same mouth? Okay? But the more and more videos I watch this guy, he just says the word trans people over and over and over again. The last video I saw last night, was he was talking about his father. He felt that his father deserted him for being trans. I have a gay daughter. She ain't trans. Now, it's one thing to be gay, but if my daughter decided to walk around as a boy, I don't know what I would do. Then again, wait a minute. I would still remember that that's my daughter, not my son, my daughter, up under all that, up under all that muscle, or up under all that masculine, physique or whatever. My little girl, my youngest daughter, is under there somewhere. Okay? So I wouldn't mind, even though she looks like a dude, and people might think she's a dude if she's good at it, like some people are. I know that that's my daughter under there, so I wouldn't mind hugging my daughter. I wouldn't mind doing things for my daughter, talk with my daughter, having dinner with my daughter, whatever. But one thing we won't do is talk about relationships together. I'm not going to bless any of her relationships. I probably won't go to her wedding. Okay? I probably wouldn't. Trans people are so selfish. They think that they can just pop out of the closet one day and say, hey, Mom, Dad, I'm trans. Look at me. And you think that they're supposed to be like, oh, that dress looks good on you. It's not that simple. But you think it's supposed to be, right? What's the big deal? I'm still the same. Are you? Oh, I'm still the same person I was. I'm still the same person. You're my what? You just said you're not my son no more. You're my daughter. You can't say, well, I'm the same person I've always been. Why are you judging me? Why are you? No. You just said you don't even want me to call you by your name. Like even my youngest daughter, like she's gay, but she's not trans. But she changed her name when she went gay. And it was something that they had going on in school. One of the most peaceful schools in the world. They sign off on some of the stuff, but she changed her name slightly. She changed a couple letters in her name. And one day I felt like slapping her. Now that she's back, now that she's older, she doesn't mind me calling her by her name and her nickname. She doesn't mind me just calling her Gabby. She doesn't mind me calling her Bear Baby. That's what I've called her from the day she was born, Bear Baby. Everybody else calls her Gabby, Gabbo, Me and Mom call her Gabby Bear. Okay? But when she came home from school out of the clear blue one day like it was nothing. And I called her by her name, and she said, that's not my name. So, parents don't have any rights over their kids by the time their kids can talk. They lose any rights they have over their kids. If their kids can talk back to them, they lose any rights that they have over their kids. And see, this is when a woman says, my choice, my body. I do believe that your child is your choice, your body. You have a right until that child is 18 and old enough to have her own kids, legally. You have a right to say, my child came from my body, my choice. But no, these same women that practice abortion, this is all Democratic liberal garbage, same women that practice abortion believe that, if a kid wants to wear that dress to school at that young age, what did she say? Oh, if I was small and tight like her, I'd be dressing like that too. It ain't just the atheist that lost touch with God. It ain't just DeRoy when he was a backslider. It ain't just, it's Christians that have lost touch with God. It's Catholics. It's everybody. I mean, hundreds of people are losing touch with God to where they don't even know how to have morals for their daughters and their sons. And if something happens that they have to scold their kid about something their kid did wrong, they got to battle it out with other parents. They got to battle it out with their school. Some of them even got to battle it out with their church. I remember I had a pastor friend one time who he was so busy trying to be friends with my kids that, and this is what people do. This is why whenever I see this pastor friend of mine, I told my daughters last time I see him, let's not talk about him, but this is the kind of stuff he would do. He would get together with me and talk about, my kids getting away with this and all like that, and how I need to discipline them. I'm closing. And then when the kids were in the room, he'd sit there and try to act like their advocate. But he always wanted, and this is where he was really, really, really weird around my children. Like, he always wanted my kids to be on his side. And he always wanted to act like he was their advocate. Okay? I mean, my kids got into trouble, and he was right there along with me, whispering to me about, yeah, you should do this, you should do that. But then my daughter walks in the room, and he's a totally different person. He just lied. See, people, it's not about my religion. Because I don't trust my religion, so to speak. I don't trust everybody in my church. I don't trust your church. I don't trust the majority of the stuff I see on TV. I don't trust everybody in the Republican Party. I don't agree with everybody that calls themselves conservative. But me and a lady was talking tonight at work while I was doing my rounds. We were talking about, how Pittsburgh used to be back in the 80s. Some of you millennials have no clue. You have no clue with how much peace, and safety come out of law and order. Strict laws and order and policy. I never even went back and finished that video. Policy. Back in the 80s, if you're homeless, don't come downtown Pittsburgh. Back in the 80s, when the buses stopped running, we all stopped running. Back in the 80s, cops didn't really care what you thought about white privilege. And if you called them a honky or Peckerwood, a pig in a blanket or whatever, they didn't care. They just laughed in your face. Get your butt in the wagon. We done went from white people starting to soften up about how they treat black people, okay, to getting on their knees in front of black people and letting black people say anything they want about white people. I've had some of the nicest white people tell me to my face way back in the day. They ain't gonna tell me that today. They're afraid somebody will take them to court. But back in the day, I'd say stuff to them. I said, well, you sound like you might be racist. Well, if I want to be racist, that's my prerogative. You have yet to see me be a racist. If I didn't like you, you wouldn't be standing in my face. And as small as I am, and as small as I was back then, I don't think he's playing. I don't think she's playing. I don't agree with everything just because I'm a Republican. And that's where a lot of Democrats and a lot of people in office got us Christians wrong. That's where they got us Republicans wrong. That's where they got conservatives wrong. We're not all the same. We are diverse. Just like I don't agree. Like I'm still trying to figure out, in closing, if Kanye West just simply said Jews as a whole in this last situation, and this changes things. This is a game changer. Kanye, Candace Owens, did Kanye say Jews and not explain what Jews he's talking about? Because if he did, that's a racist statement. And I learned from my friend at work that happens to be a Jew, and I didn't even know it because who knows how Jews act. They look like white people. And he does. He look like Liberace. Okay? With a mustache, with what do you call them? Handles. Okay? He looked like the man on the Pringle can. He looked like a white man on a Pringle can, okay? I didn't know he was Jew until we started talking about, our faith and all that kind of stuff. And he's one of the best officers I've ever had to work with in my entire life. And he's a Republican, but he's about as liberal as far as how he lives his life as anybody I've ever known. Not like the Jews I go to church with. Okay? And not like the Jews that I see, like Ben Shapiro, people who wear the halo and the turban and all that kind of stuff. Not like them. Not people that I've met that actually travel back and forth between America and Israel. Okay? Not like the Jewish rabbis I've met and stuff like that, you know. But he's a very liberal, down-to-earth person. He's a Republican. He's a Trump supporter, but he's a very, very, very liberal, you know, in other ways. You know, morally, he's very liberal. But he explained to me that one of the most horrible things that people do, and especially in this country, is when they accuse Jews of doing something, they accuse all Jews. And he corrected me, which I already knew this because I've been through this all my life. Like I said, I got friends and you know that you know, and it's real easy to come out. Kanye needs to understand this. Candace needs to understand this, that it's easy to come out and say Jews. It's never Jews. Like that dumb broad that showed up on one of my live streams. Ben Shapiro is a Jew. There is no Jew like Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro is the only Jew I know that will waste his time caring about what goes on here in America. I didn't even know he was from Canada until just recently. He was talking. He said, here in Canada. And I'm thinking, oh, you're in Canada. This, you know, what are you doing being a Trump? How are you a Trump supporter in Canada? You know. But you never say Jews. And if Kanye said Jews instead of Zionists, Candace needs to stop defending him. He needs to apologize. Of course, he's not going to get his job back. He's not going to get his money back if he apologizes. But he'll at least get the blessing of those that look down and criticize them. Because it's never Jews, just like it's never just black people. It's never just white people. It's never just cops. It's never just, you know, Mexicans, or it's never just, you know, it's never just Asians. You know, there's a lot of Asians. There's China, there's Japan, there's the Philippines, there's Indonesia, there's you know, half my neighbors up here are Asian. You know, I mean, you know, they're Napoleons. Well, Napoleons considered more closer to the Indian race, but they look like they look like Asians. They just you know, just like people that come around here, people that come here to visit me. They call them all Chinese. They're not Chinese, dude. They're Napoleon. And it's funny how the guys look like they Indian, but the girls look like the Chinese, but they're Napoleon. But you never say, well, I hate Asian people. Which Asians you talking about? Okay? Because I'd like to get to know some Japanese people, and I know from the 2 years I was in Job Corps that all Chinese people ain't alike, neither are all Vietnamese people alike. Because that was what I hung out with when I was in Job Corps. Vietnamese people, you know, a few Chinese and a few Indian and African, a little bit of everybody. Okay? And we all, what was the situation? Job Corps. It wasn't about black, white. Of course, for black people, it's always about black people. Be black for a moment. It's always about black people, everywhere they go. They're the ones that was picking fights with the Asians. They're the ones that were picking fights and getting their butt kicks. These Asians was kung fuing them and putting them in the hospital, and they was still getting arrested and put in prison. Okay? Okay? But it wasn't about black and white. Black people had to make it a black thing, but it wasn't about black and white and Asian and Indian and African. It was about the Job Corps Center. That's what it was about. Everybody had one thing in common. We Keystone. That's it. And when I come back here to Pittsburgh and people say, "Oh, you went to Job Corps?" I said, "Yeah." They says, "What Job Corps did you go to?" I says, "I went to Keystone. We Keystone, bro." And they told me about all the ghetto things that happened in Pittsburgh. I said, "No, we Keystone." Keystone was different. And back then, Hazleton, PA was different. And Hazleton was beautiful. It was a glorious place. I enjoyed going to church and getting on the green bus and going to church in Hazleton. And the Christians out there were the nicest people you want to meet. Most of the Christians out there were Republicans. But a lot of the white folks were very liberal as well as racist. That's another reason, like, I don't agree with Brandon Tatum and Jesse Lee Peterson always defending white people and saying there's no such thing as racism. I agree with Jesse Lee that racism is just evil. There's good and evil, yes. But yes, there's different categories of evil. Rape is evil. But if a man rapes a woman, he goes to jail for rape. But he did evil, right? One of the most evil things he does. It's definitely evil. But that doesn't mean it's not rape, because it's evil. And Jesse Lee will say, "Oh, well, it's about good and evil, it's not about rape." That's a dumb statement. Okay? It's racism because slavery is over. Jim Crow is dead. So anybody that's still looking at a black man and looking at him any other way than I'm watching to make sure you don't come here and screw this up, which is fine, knowing our culture lately. I'm just watching you closely that you don't screw this up. I have no problem with that. Even if you watch D-Roy Cruz with his little self. Watch me all you want to. Just watch what you say to me, bruh. Watch what you say to me and watch what you act out around me. Okay? I don't care if you watch me, because I'm in your store and I might be the only black person within 50 miles. I would watch you if you came in my store and you was the only white person within 50 miles. That's fine with me. Watch me like a hawk. Follow me around the store, but watch yourself. Because Jim Crow is dead, bruh. You trying to bring him back? So I understand black people when it comes to, like, I watched a video last night about Williamsport, PA. And there's like, black people are the smallest population in Williamsport. Well, they're bigger than like Asians and that. But, Williamsport over the last few years are starting to increase in black people, and the white people in Williamsport are mad about it. Okay? And these black people, very conservative black people, they decided to, they're business people that own businesses and make good money and that. They, one of them was a professor. They talked about how Williamsport was uncomfortable with them. But this one black girl, this is how you know these ain't Pittsburghers, okay? This one black girl got on there and said that she understood they don't want the nonsense that's going on in the inner city coming up the good old sweet Williamsport. She says, that's why I came to Williamsport, to get away from that nonsense. Hello? I might marry this black woman. Because she sounded like D-Roy Cruz. She said, I understand why white people look at me crazy and they watch me like a hawk. And they're a little uncomfortable with me being here. It's because they don't want that nonsense that goes on in the hood. I grew up in the hood. They don't want that nonsense coming over here. I don't want to come in over here either, she said. Hallelujah. But a lot of y'all ain't hearing me. This just goes right over your head. And this is the difference between racism and white people protecting themselves by being white. I'm about to put on my white costume over the next few years, and I'm going to protect myself. Because I'm tired of the nonsense that's going on. Ever since I moved to Pittsburgh, My dandruff with black people, it just went through the roof. Like, just going to work every day, just getting on the bus, just doing stuff like going to the hospital. Like, oh my God. These are not, yeah, you're right, you black brother. And we're all, not just the white folks, but me too, we're all watching you. Because you make no sense. Why you come in here like that? Why are you talking like that? Why are you arguing with the lady at the desk? You ain't here to get food stamps. Why are you arguing with her? Over something stupid. This is a hospital. These white security guards never have to do anything. But they gotta come over there, and maybe today they'll get to use their taser over this black gentleman that wants to act like, oh, violence does show up in these parts. We didn't know we had a hospital. We didn't know we had issues up in these parts till this black brother walked in here. This is the stuff I'm talking about. But I'm going to go back to watching Brandon and the election and see who won. I really believe that it's more than just winning the election. I believe that the Democrats need to win because they want to change our history. They want to, and I mean, there's more to it than just the average Democrat, but there are people behind it. I'll say it one more time. People behind all this. They're using the Democrat Party, and that's why a lot of people are leaving it. And it's funny how you'll see in the next time a Democrat wins. It don't matter how many people become Republicans and leave the Democratic Party, you'll find out the Democrats are still going to win. And I really don't believe that anybody is going to vote legally. I don't trust anybody. I don't trust any of these, after what happened, because I still believe what happened. After what happened with Trump and Biden, okay, I don't trust our voter system right now. Anything a Democrat touches, especially in these big blue states, that are super bigger than Pittsburgh, I do not trust them to do anything. It's so easy for people today to do something, okay, and lie, and then act like, what are you talking about? What's wrong? They know they lied, but they just, it's just the normal thing to do. It's the only righteous thing to do is lie. Because if you don't lie, the righteous might win. And you don't want that. So you have to lie. And you have to just, I lied, but I did it in God's name. That's the way Democrats are. Yeah, I go to church, I lied, but God understands why I lied. Huh? Dealer Cruiser Life Applications Officer, I've been here too long, but it was great. I got a lot of things out that I've been wanting to ramble about. That's why I call it good rambling. God bless you. See you soon with some more rambling. God bless you.